Welcome back to the Journey Podcast. I'm your co-host, Emma Jackson.
And I'm Jose.
And we are joined today by the wonderful Andrew Lamb of 4 Leaf Performance.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Joining us. How was your commute in this morning?
Very easy this morning. Unusual for Houston, but pretty easy, thank you.
Love it. Yeah. For those of you that don't know, Andrew actually runs 4 Leaf Performance, which is a consultancy that helps businesses understand how to run and communicate. That's everything from systems and operations to also understanding your personalities and how your goals align with your operations.
Yep.
And he's also our consultant. So we've mentioned on previous episodes how we've been working with a consultancy that's really helped us shift our mindset and grow our business. So we're really, really excited to bring him on and drop some major knowledge this episode. Yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us your background and how you ended up here in the U.S.
Okay, so originally born in England, Northern England, a little town called Blackburn, which is north of Liverpool, Manchester area. Quickly moved out of there, moved to Dublin, where I really grew up. Mainly from Dublin area. Graduated school in Dublin and went straight into work. Wasn't smart enough to get into college in Ireland at the time. Lots of other stories around that, but got into retail, then got into the airline business, then moved back to Ireland with a technology company, a little company called Digital Equipment. They were the largest service provider in IT in the early 90s. And then in 2001, I got transferred from Dublin to Houston. So I was running knowledge management around Europe at the time. They wanted me to come and run global knowledge management, which was a growing trend at the time. So I got into that, came here in 2001 with the idea of coming here for 2 years and then going back. 24 years later, I'm still here, right, and enjoying life. And I did a 3-year stint in Singapore. I ran Asia operations for about 3 years. So was there from 15 to 18, came back here in 18. And then I retired from HP about 4 years ago. So I took early retirement out of HP and then decided to start up my own company, which is basically growing and building businesses and organizations and helping people, go through what they need to do to grow businesses.
You have a really impressive track record, not only working globally, but just in the actual roles that you've had. And I'm really curious. A lot of your roles tend to involve business strategy and operations. Did you intend to go into business strategy and operations, or did you fall into those roles?
I didn't intend to it. I wanted to be a fighter pilot. Yeah, absolutely.
For like the Air Force or
RAF.
RAF?
Yeah, I applied for the RAF. That was Gulf War One. We got locked out of our airport because the RAF took over their airport that morning and didn't have a job. I'd always loved flights. Always loved flying, always loved aircraft. Was really interested in.
Do you have your license?
I do not have my license. However, I've spent hundreds of hours in cockpits.
Nice.
So I know my way around a cockpit, but I have not got it. It's on my bucket list to get done. My only problem is I want to fly fast and low. That's my only challenge. I've done aerobatics. I've done, in the back seat, things like that. But I haven't got my license yet. But I want to go low and fast. That's my plan, right? When Top Gun movies come out, I'm in there, right? Front seat.
That was a great movie.
That was fantastic.
Phenomenal movie.
Yeah, he did a fantastic job. I've been around pilots all my life, so that's one of the things that inspired me. But no, I didn't get into the strategy role. I kind of fell into it. I started in the call centers. That was my first job in IT, was call center work. My first job in IT was copying floppy drives. Yeah, now I'm dating myself, right? 12-inch floppy drives was one of the first things that I did.
If you guys don't know, floppy drives are like the ones that are like kind of squared.
Big square thing. It was like big square things, right?
Oh, extra big, yeah.
Yeah, extra big, yeah. So we used to literally post those out to individual branches for the bank that I worked for. So that was my first foray into that. Then I did X25 networking. And then I got into the call centers when I moved to Ireland, and then started building from there. And then just got into management, got into leadership, got into project management, and then I started to see I was able to pull things together quicker. It really intrigued me. It was like a puzzle, right? My background, as you know, is better way. I want to do things a better way. which kind of really drives me into kind of the strategy world, because you want to be improving things all the time. That's why I love what I do every day, working with businesses to do things better. And that's how I've got into the strategy mode.
Does it frustrate you sometimes when like you know the correct path or like the strategy to make it successful, but the business owners are sometimes hesitant? For example, like me with my time tracker.
Yes, but it's not my job to be frustrated. It's my job to help you get to where you need to get to. I don't do your job for you.
Facts.
Right, so that's one of the differences with what we do versus bringing people in to do the work for you. That's outsourcing, right? That's bringing team members in to come and do the work. That's part of it, right? Is to get business leaders in the right position to lead businesses, not do it. So Richard Branson's got a great quote, right? The role of a CEO is to create the vision, make it be very, very clear for everybody, hire the right people, and then get the heck out of the way.
I've been trying to tell that to Emma for, I don't know, what, 6 months now?
I am all for it. I'm saying let's get the right team in place and
Right.
make it happen, you
Yeah.
know? Because Jose's definitely a visionary,
Right.
you know? And he's got the ideas, but in order to grow, he has to be able to focus on the next thing and the next thing.
Correct. And that's part of what we're going through, right? Is sitting down and building that plan. What are the things that we need to do next? How do we build the business? You can't build a business on a dream. You build a business on systems and processes. And that's where people have challenges, right?
Mm-hmm.
The ability to grow and scale businesses is dependent directly upon the systems and processes that you've got in place that are predictable. And that's part of the challenge that we've got to do with businesses is, what do you need to scale and grow the business?
I think that's been the most powerful thing you taught us, for me personally, because I am a hardhead. Like, we've been working for a while together, is that you're pushing us in the direction of like, hey, you need to start documenting. You need to start creating the systems and to put yourself in a position for you to scale.
Right.
And that's like the point I was trying to make is like the best part about you is that you come in, you don't do the work. You make
Right.
sure that the work is getting accomplished,
Right.
but you're pushing and motivating the individuals to actually be better.
Yeah. And sometimes we do the work, right? So we've got templates, we've got things that we can do. I mean, there's, spreadsheets that we utilize.
Like the zero-based budget, you basically walked us through and then you implemented it for us so that we could see how to do it for ourselves.
So once you get to learn it, right, it's like, now we'll work through it. It's like going back to school, right? This is how you do it. This is the process and how you do it. This is the math that you do, and this is how it should work. Now go do it, right? So the whole thing is building leaders, is building you up so that you can do it yourself. My job is not to be in your business all the time. My job is to get you to a point where you can drive the business yourself, and not only implement it in this business, but implement it in all the other businesses.
Yeah, that being stated, what 3 problems have you seen that are common in most businesses?
Oh, it's common across the board. Time, team, money.
Facts.
That's
Okay,
it.
let's dive into a little bit more.
That was so quick.
so
Time,
specific.
team, money. That's it. There's 3 problems that everybody has, and it boils down to, do you have the right team?
Mm-hmm.
Are you managing your time? Where you're focused, right?
Time trackers.
And money, right? Have you got your cash flow? Have you got your money in order? Are you tracking all your numbers, right? Accounts receivable, accounts payable. Are you closing your books at the end of the month? These are the things. These are the basics that any business needs to have in place. Because again, think of a business like a house. You've got to build a house on solid foundation. Because if you don't, what happens?
It
It
will
falls.
fall.
Falls apart, right? Same thing for a business. Build it on solid foundations, and then you can build up. If you don't, you can build up, but I can probably guarantee 99% of the time it's going to collapse under its weight, especially if you're scaling.
Something I find so interesting is, so neither Jose and I, we didn't get our MBAs, we didn't go to business school, or I personally didn't have exposure in different types of businesses. But being involved in marketing, like consulting, you interact with a ton of different kinds of businesses. And we often are intimately familiar with our businesses, their successes, their goals, their financial picture, so that we can help them grow. And it took me a couple of years, but I started to notice the same sorts of problems with all sorts of businesses of all different sizes. And it was really interesting to me how many businesses have fallen into success, oftentimes millions of dollars a year success, and it's just now catching up to them that they don't have systems in place. And a lot of times you can get by for a while if there's a lot of demand, if you've hit a sweet spot on the internet, or you've really understood your customer, but at some point it's going to catch up to you that you don't have the proper systems or the team or the tracking to keep your goals in check.
It does. And where it shows up is in two places. When you're truly scaling, it's going to catch up and bite you. The other one is when you're trying to sell your business. Because there's only two options at the end of the day for businesses. One is to close it, right? So you now have, all your customers have nowhere to go. Your suppliers have lost a customer, right? And your team, what's your team going to do, right? So that's one option, is to close the business. The only other option is to sell it. So if you're going to sell a business, guess what's going to be in place? Systems and processes. Because they're not buying you, they're buying the business. So if they're buying the business, you've got to have systems and processes in place, the team in place that can actually run. Nobody wants to buy a job.
Yeah.
They want to buy a business that operates without them. They want to buy the revenue, right? So they could be buying the product, they could be buying the service, they could be buying the team, right, to add to their business. Or they could be just buying the business because they've come out of corporate and want to buy a business, right? They want long-term income. But those are the only two choices you have at the end of the day. And you have to have systems and processes in place to sell a business. You also have to have it when you're growing the business.
You and Jose have completely rewired my thought process on this, because my entire life, so my dad started the Idea Farm, and it was, a creative agency through and through. And as I was older, my mom would tell me, my dad would, she would say, there's no hope. This is not a business that can be sold, because it is, people come for your father, And then when I ended up taking over the business, and I started to interact with Jose, who comes from this business background, and then working with you, I realized no matter the type, it's not like, okay, you just can't sell a marketing agency. It's like you can't sell in any sort of business where you've built it all around one single person instead of systems.
Right.
And you've made, that's the crux. You can have a super successful business, but it's going to hit this limit of what one person can do or what one small team can do.
Yeah.
And real success is taking that magic and actually putting it into a system that other team members can follow.
Right.
It's also the hardest thing too.
It's so hard.
It is hard because, again, it's what is your trait? What drives you? What motivates you, right? So there's different horses for courses, right? So there's different people in the organization that have got specialized skills to do specialized things, right? So again, this is understanding where your skill set lies, understanding what your unique value proposition is, get you in the right seat in the right part of the business and drive that. Then get all the other people in the right seat. You shouldn't be the single point of failure. Because if you're the single point of failure, guess what? You can't go on vacation, right? You can't take a break. You can't sell the business.
Jose, are you listening?
She's been asking for vacation.
No, I was saying you need to take a vacation, but I don't feel like you don't feel like you can take a vacation sometimes, because it's so, and we're also at a critical stage where we're implementing these systems, but it's hard. And one of the things that got us when we were working with you in the beginning is you said, what do you want your life to look like in 5 years? But specifically, how much do you want to work? And being able to build a system around what it actually means to walk away it's one thing to talk about, but it's another thing to work backwards and figure out how to make that a reality.
I mean, Stephen Covey talks about start with the end in mind, right? Everything should start with the end in mind. Projects should start with the end in mind. The business should start with the end in mind, because there will be an end, right? Unfortunately, there will be an end, right? But what does the end look like, and what do you need to get there to get there? And it's actually not that difficult to figure out. I mean, we did it in a couple of hours, right?
Yeah.
And I do it every single day for clients. It's, where do we want to start? Where do we want to get to? What does that mean, right? And when they start mapping it out, I usually get, is that it? Is that all we've got to do? Yeah, but you need to follow the plan now. Now, the hard work comes about executing. I got a great conversation with a client yesterday where she literally turned around and said, we sat down a year ago to figure out what this plan is and where we're going to go. And the next piece of the puzzle just dropped today. And she's all excited about it because she wants to grow her business in multiple areas in a specific area. And she got an opportunity yesterday to add to that piece of the puzzle, which is a major part of the puzzle. And it just fell in her lap because, again, she's been looking for it. She's been visualizing it and she's been articulating it, and it's come. Now she's excited. Oh, she's ready for it. But now there's that, ooh, Now it's become real,
Yeah.
right? And then it's like, okay, so what's the next step? How do we move this forward? Because you're now at this point of the juncture where you've got to now move forward. You've got to build more. You've got to grow more.
That being stated, right? So I'm gonna use myself for example, or us for example, right? We got to a point where the solution was in front of us, but if we didn't have you to talk to us about like our cash flow, for example, we were probably like running circles, right?
Yeah.
Right.
What are some of the challenges you face building your business? And do you have somebody that can help you just like kind of think outside the box and show you the answer away like you did for us?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I have my own coaches, right? I have my own team around me. I surround myself with people that are better than I. And that's the clue, right? Is to make sure you've got the better people around you. You can't be the smartest person in the room. Because if you are, you're listening to yourself.
I feel like that sometimes.
Right, but you've got to have that. And again, having an external view. I mean, we were talking before camera here. I've got 2 coaches that I work with today, right? In my other business, in our acquisitions business, I've got an illegal person and a fractional CFO, right? So they're holding me accountable in other areas of my business, and they give me advice in that space. Whereas my other 2 partners are holding me accountable for the work in the coaching business, right? Where are we? What are the numbers? What are we turning around? How are we driving that, right? I'm fortunate to have my daughter working for me, Emma, right? We have another Emma, right? So we get on camera,
She's
it's like Emma or
great.
Emma. Which Emma are we talking to?
They kind of look alike too.
Yeah, I mean, but she drives this business with this ferocity, right? And this drive. And it's like, wow. I mean, sometimes she scares me, right? I won't be, I've got to be honest about this, but it's like, wow. But she has this unique ability to drive the action that we need to do to get where we need to get to. I'm more the visionary side of that. But man, she's been an absolute gem to have in the organizations because she's got that unique ability. You're going to surround yourself with the best people.
I think we're figuring that out.
There
And
you go.
it makes such a big difference, and we're able to grow so much faster when
Right.
we have the right team in place.
Last question before time runs up, but talking about team, right? Surrounding yourself with the right people. What is the best piece of advice you can give anybody to help them build their team successfully? Because I think that's super important.
Again, I start with the end in mind. So what should the team look like at a certain point, right? So if we're looking, we got to be at this level, we've got to be at this output at this time. Okay, what does that mean with regards to organizational structure, right? So we build the organizational structure like we did, right? And then from there, what are the skill sets that you're looking for that individual, right? So many times I get people, oh, I met this person and they'd be a great fit for that job. Cool. Show me the job description. Show me the standards that this person is going to deliver to, right? Get away from emotional conversations, right? I expect people to do this. No, stop that conversation immediately. What are the standards? What are the measurements you're going to measure that person to and hold them accountable to that, right? Because when you hold standards, it's a black and white conversation, right? The standard for this is this. The standard for that is that. Therefore, we can measure to that, right? So very clear job descriptions, very clear outputs that we're coming to. Make sure everybody's on the right KPIs and then drive to that, right? Remove the excuses. And then as leaders, the question you should be asking every day is, so how can I help you achieve your goals?
Wow.
Right? How do I help you achieve your goals? That's the job of a leader, right? Instead of, why didn't you do that? Why didn't you do it? No, how can I help you achieve your goals and help them be accountable for their goals and their role?
I like that.
That's one of the best ways to grow a team. And again, making sure everybody's clear around the vision, the mission, and the culture of the business.
Which now we have a clear vision and culture, and we're going to be putting it up on the wall, poster size, so we all are aligned. Well,
Exactly.
if you guys like this kind of content, there will be a part 2, so stick around, subscribe, and you'll be the first to know. Once again, if you like this kind of content, leave a comment below, ask Andrew any questions. We'll drop all of his information in the description below, so go check him out, and if you want to grow your business and take it to the next level, you have to check out 4 Leaf Performance. Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.